an exciting card today. I think you're going to like it. We're doing a sliding lock card. And what that means is it's got this extra little flap on the front that's going to allow it to open up. But the lock is what holds it closed. You know, in the past, we've done Velcro dots, we've done little mini magnets, and today we're actually using cardstock and a sliding slot. And I'm telling you this because our classic label punch, which I'm using for this card, is retiring. So if you don't have this yet and you love this card, you're going to want to pop on over to my store and grab this punch. Also, one that we have that came out recently is our oval one. I'm using this one as well. This is one of the stamp sets that's in that, and it actually has a set of coordinating dies, which I'm not using today, but this falls in line with the poppies that were so popular last year. This one's actually a pansy, and I think they'll go well together because the style is very similar. And then it also comes with some designer series paper, and so I've got that here too. I think I can show you better if I flip you down onto my desk. So let me do that. So here we are down on my desk, and this is the new Pansy designer series paper. These are what I call swatch books, and they have a 3x6 sample of all of the cardstocks. These are great for demos that wanted to show their customers what they look like in real life. Next month, when I can go back to having real live parties here in the studio, you will be able to check out the cool new papers. If you wanted a what we call a paper share, you get a 6x6 piece of each of the designer series papers, everything that comes in the catalog, and that includes the new DSPs that are coming out for the new in colors and the color families. So those are just standard, you know, basics, but they are very useful. Here is my card. This was the sample one. And see how that just slides on over and it opens up and then it reveals the inside. And I've got a oval on the inside as well as an oval on the outside. Anyway, here's our paper. And we're going to be using that for our card. I started out with the card base, 5.5 by 10.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4 and then 8.5. So this 8.5 by 5.5 is our standard card base. And then I've got an extra like 1.5 inches over here that is going to be the part that folds over. But someone else I saw, another demonstrator had taken, and she had cut, you know, she came over and did this at the 1 inch mark. So maybe this is 2 inches. And she went from there down to here, which gave us this really cool diagonal effect. And I kind of liked it. So we're going to do that with our card today as well. And then I'm going to show you how she showed us how to get the designer series paper to fit. Because since this is an odd shape, we need to know how to get the odd shape to mount on top of it. But it's real easy. So this piece I'm doing 2.5 by 5 1/4, and it's a little big, but that's because once we cut it diagonal, we're going to have 2 pieces. So I can make 2 cards out of this one piece. Then I have the inside is 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have a piece of the designer series paper for the outside that is also 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to need my trimmer, because like I said, I want to cut these things diagonal. Now I went ahead already and I put this in at 3/4, and then I took a pencil and I made a little mark up here. And then I flipped it around and I did the same exact thing. I lined it up at 3/4 and I made a little mark. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from one mark to the other. And that's going to give me my 2 pieces for my 2 different cards. So right now we're just using one, but I have an extra for the next card. And I'm super excited they brought back something that has gingham. That was so popular when we've had it in the past. And then it kind of disappeared for a while, so I'm glad it's back. Okay, now for this one, I measured over 1 inch. Now you can either, you know, look at this side because, you know, it lines up with 1 inch over here, or lined with 1 inch here, because since this is 2 inches, we want to cut it in the middle. So just line it up with 1 inch and make a little mark with a pencil. Then I'm going to go from that little mark down to the point. Now again, you know my little trick about, since we're going to be going into a point and I don't want to smash that thing, I'm going to actually put my blade down in the middle so that I can slide up and slide down and not mush my little corner. Okay, so now you can see that this little piece lines up on there. And so that's just going to go on with some liquid glue. The demonstrator I watched, she actually did her punching before she put this in and then had to punch it again afterwards. Because she said it was less wear and tear on the punch, that it was easier on her punch to not have to go through the 2 layers. But it's not 2 layers of cardstock, it's a layer of cardstock and a DSP, so it's not really that thick. So I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. But then we're going to push this in from the bottom and we're going to make it go all the way up, because that's what's going to tell us where we're going to need to mark it on the other panel so that they will match. So it's flush to the bottom, and then I want to cut off maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch. See, and that went pretty easy. So I think we're safe going ahead and putting the other designer series paper on and then punching once. I want to mark where that's going to hit. So this is an erasable pen. Don't freak that will erase. But I made just a little mark where the end of that is. So then I'm going to bring in this and line it up so we're right at that little mark that I made. And so now when I close, see how they line up. Looks like I'm a little wonky on my diagonal. I know I freak people out when I do that with the scissors. You can pop it back into the trimmer and even it out. I'll show you another card I did, and I kept stamping this sentiment on this layer over and over and over again, and no matter how many times I did it, it was crooked. So I finally said, okay, I'm leaving it crooked, and then I stuck it into the trimmer and I lined up my sentiment on one of the grid lines in here so that my sentiment was straight, you know, like right here. And then trimmed off all the way around and made the thing square. I lost like 1/4 of an inch off of it, but it worked. I didn't have to worry about the fact that I was stamping that sentiment goofy. So there's basics of our card. Now what I need to do is I need to make the piece that's going to go in here. And that's where I said this other punch comes in handy. So I'm going to use this ovals punch, and it's got a scallop and a straight. I'm grabbing a piece of our new evening evergreen, and it's very close to Pretty Peacock. There it is up against Pretty Peacock. This is what I grabbed by mistake, but I really want evening evergreen because Pretty Peacock's already retired. It's sold out. This is that card I was talking about. This is where I see my sentiment, how it's not straight. I don't know if you can even tell. It bugged the heck out of me that this was not straight. And so I stamped it and then cut this off, and then I added the extra layer. So again, there's always a fix. You guys are always telling me, oh, I ruined it. It's trash. I had to throw it away. That's not necessarily true. There's always ways that we can fix things. So back to our card. So I'm going to go ahead and punch 2 of those, and then I'm going to need a scrap of white to do a sentiment. Oop. So one's going to go on the inside and one's going to go on the outside. And to make it run back and forth in this little track, we can use dimensionals. And one would probably just fit in there. Or what she suggested was to take our foam adhesive sheets and cut them to size, because then you can see it's not round at all. So as it slides back and forth in the track, it's going to stay square and your sentiment's not going to wobble at all. I thought that was a really good idea. So I just measured what would fit into this little track, and then I cut a piece to fit. And this is what's going to go between the two labels. So in order to make it match up, I wanted to make sure that when it's closed, it covers this entire thing. And it's really close. So I wanted to make sure that it was indeed covering all of the hole. And then just take a Post-it note, some washi tape, something to hold it in place while you come over here. And that's our label, not the inside of the card. And I'm going to peel off and stick this right in here, because this is where I want it to stop when it's locked. And then it will slide open. So now, since I have that in there, I know I can take my Post-it note off. And then I want to do the same thing. I want to line up my oval so it's covering that hole. And then see, it slides back and forth. Isn't that cool? Let me put a piece inside. You get more of an effect if you see this. See how it's white? I'm going to close it over and it closes. And then it reveals the white again. Easy peasy. Okay, so we have our choice of sentiments. There's a love you so much, thank you, happy birthday. And I'm always using thank you cards, so that seems to be my default of what I fall into. And I'm going to do this with a new color because we now have our new in colors. We have the Fresh Freesia, which is what this is here. We did the Evening Evergreen, which is the cardstock in the back. Oh, there's a Pale Papaya. You'll notice that right here in our pansies. Here we go. Soft Succulent. Polished Pink. So these are the 5 new in colors. And we can also do kind of a club on that. If you're looking to purchase all of the new in colors in the paper, the inks, the markers, the papers, all of those things, we can do a color club, which means that you do a monthly order and each month you get a little something different. And by the end of the little club, you've got all of the new in colors with all of the new pads and markers and papers. And of course, if you were interested in getting the Happy Shopper discount, you could always sign up now and you could order the pansies and the in colors and everything right now and not have to wait until May. Because as a demonstrator, even if you're just a hobby demonstrator, which just gets you the Happy Shopper discount and no obligations to do anything else, you still get to order early, get the catalog early, hang out with me for our team meetings. I don't know if you can see back there, but the cards that are on the table back there, we're doing for our team meeting and they're exclusive to them. So it's fun stuff. I think I'm just going to go with a simple flower. I'll put that in the corner, and they're of course 3-step, so I'm pulling out the 3 pieces. And so I've got the base of the flower, the accents of the flower, and then the center. Now the center, let's go with Daffodil Delight. And then I'm going to do some detail over it. And we'll do that with Gorgeous Grape. And so that's why these stamps are clear. There are photopolymer stamps. And the idea is when we're doing these, you want to be able to look straight down and stamp over the top. And so since you can see through the block and see through the stamp, it lines up perfectly. And then you'll notice, see how it's got the 2 petals on the top and then only the 1 on the bottom. That's how we can tell that we have it right side up. And then I'm going to lay it right over the top in Highland Heather. And so there we go. And then I usually on flowers like this will do masking. I know I've showed this to you before. But what I do is I stamp on a Post-it note, kind of on the sticky, because I want the sticky to stick to my flower. And you don't even need to go all the way around because we just need it to be where the leaves are going to go. But I can lay that over the top, and then I can take a leaf and have it come out from the side. So again, I've got the base of it, and then I've got the detail. And I think these two will go well together. So let's do the base. See, they stamp both directions. Last time I started out with the detail and worked backwards. This time I'm going to start with the base and then come in with the detail. And it's just the same process. We're just laying one right over the top of the other. And I'm going ahead and putting the bottom of the leaf all the way onto our flower. And it hits that little post-it note. And by hitting the little post-it note, it appears to be coming from out from underneath our flower. Some of you knew that technique, some of you didn't. I always try to give you guys all the little tips and tricks I can while we're here. So I said thank you. So let's say the little things you do make such a big difference. And again, I'm going to line that up on my grid paper so that I'm straight. And then I'm going to take my block right over the top, line that up with grid this way so that now that I'm straight. And the grid paper is something you can buy out of our catalog. And this is some special stuff here with the flowers, but normally it has the measurements down the top, you know, or down the side across the bottom, and then it has your little wish list on the side. It's got a grid in the middle to help you center things. It's very useful, and it's one of those things that gets seriously overlooked in our catalog. So if you don't find the grid paper, you can search for it on the website, or you can contact me because it's really helpful. And then what I have underneath here is I never stamp my photopolymers without a little foam underneath it, because our red rubber stamps come with a layer of foam and these don't. And so we need that little bit of cushion. And since it's not in the stamp, I put it underneath. And these were, I don't know, 99 cents. They were super cheap at the store. I think they're kid mats or something. It's like a fun foam, but it's really useful and very helpful in stamping. So for the center, I guess we'll go with Gorgeous Grape. So is anybody out there a big fan of pansies? Pansies is one of those things I remember from my childhood. I remember one Valentine's Day being really bummed that I was kind of that age where I knew Valentine's was a big deal, but not old enough to really have a boyfriend that would have done anything. And my dad went out and specifically bought me a small pansy plant. And I remember having that in my bathroom for a very long time. But it was my dad's way of kind of including me in Valentine's Day, which was very cute. So when I saw pansies, I knew I had to get this set. And like I said, I think it's going to go really well with the poppies. And the poppies are something that is carrying over. So, I mean, they're kind of similar, but once you see the dies are, I think, what hit me, that they were very similar. I think they'll make really pretty bouquets. And again, I'm using the Stampin' Seal. And I'm only putting a little bit in each of the four corners. And when I stop, I either roll over this way or I tick a little to the side because we want it to break off up here so that it catches next time we go to roll it. And then that's just going to go on the inside of our card like a normal layer. And there's our finished card. So very simple. Like I said, I tried to keep it down to the basics. When I do a kind of a fancy fold, I try not to trip you guys up with too many layers and too many elements on it. You could obviously, I mean, we could do a little bouquet of pansies up here. We could die cut. We could do all kinds of stuff to decorate it up. But for the basics, just to teach you guys the mechanisms and how this works, I'm keeping it simple. I want you guys to be able to make this and remember how it's done without getting confused on all the rest of it. Because once you have this part down, the rest of it's just simple stamping and you decorate it up any way you want. But this is the technique of the sliding lock card. I do thank you for joining me. I always appreciate it. Like I said, when you join me live, if you're not already on my email list, you want to make sure you are on there. My last email I sent out was the list of everything on the retired list in picture format, because it is on my blog, but it's on my blog as a list. It's on a PDF with just the names. But in my newsletter, which is also linked on my Facebook page. If you want to know how to find it, let me know. But I did it all in pictures and then divided it by categories. And I was very impressed with some of you that went on there and saved a ton of money. I was looking at some orders and checking the, how much you paid versus how much it was worth retail. And some people paid like a third of what things were worth on their entire order. So there is lots of money to be saved. So get out there and check that. And there's always our clearance rack. I think it's a little empty right now, which makes me think that there's going to be a refresh coming up here soon. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to announce that on my Facebook page and maybe push out a little newsletter to you. So be on my newsletter, follow me on my Facebook page, and shop with me. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.